Let's talk about the most controversial drug in Hollywood right now, Ozempic, Wegovy, semaglutide. Call it whatever you want. Celebrities are doing it. Influencers are doing it. Influencers are doing it. Silicon Valley executives are doing it. And honestly, watching the before and after photos, you understand why. People are dropping 20, 30, even 50 pounds like it's nothing. The weight just falls off. But then the photos started coming out, and not the good ones. Doctors started using a term nobody expected: Ozempic face, sunken cheeks, hollow eyes, a face that looks like it aged 10 years and 10 months. And that's just what you can see on the outside. What's happening on the inside is far more alarming. People on these injections are losing serious amounts of muscle mass, not fat, muscle. The very tissue that keeps your metabolism firing, your joints stable, and your body functional as you age. And the side effects don't stop there. Nausea so severe people can't leave their beds, vomiting, pancreatitis, thyroid concerns that are still being studied. But here's the part that should make you stop everything. The moment you stop the injection, the hunger comes back, the weight comes back. Because the drug was never teaching your body anything, it was just borrowing a signal. And when you return the borrowed signal, you're right back where you started. Except now you've lost muscle, aged your face, and emptied your bank account. So here's the question nobody is asking loudly enough. What if your body already has the machinery to produce that same signal naturally? What if you could activate it every single day through specific foods, specific habits, and a specific daily protocol, completely free with zero needles? That signal is called GLP-1. And what I'm about to share with you is a 5-trigger natural protocol backed by real science that can help your body produce more of it starting tomorrow. Stay with me because trigger number 4 is something almost nobody connects to weight loss. And trigger number 5 involves a specific bacteria living in your gut right now that could be either helping you or completely absent. Now let's talk about what GLP-1 actually is. Because once you understand the mechanism, the protocol makes total sense. GLP-1 stands for Glucagon-Like Peptide-1. I know. Sounds like something from a biochemistry exam. Forget the name. Just think of it as your body's built-in put the fork down signal. It's a hormone, and like every hormone in your body, it's produced in a specific place, triggered by specific inputs, and it does a very specific job. Here's how it works. Deep inside the lining of your small intestine, there are specialized cells called L cells. When you eat, and specifically when the right types of nutrients come into contact with these L cells, they release GLP-1 directly into your bloodstream. That GLP-1 then travels through your blood, crosses into your brain, hits the hypothalamus, and delivers one very clear message: you are full. Stop eating. But wait, it does something else that's even more powerful. GLP-1 slows down gastric emptying. That is the rate at which food moves out of your stomach and into your intestines. When that process slows down, food stays in your stomach longer, you feel satisfied longer, and your blood sugar rises gradually instead of spiking sharply. No spike means no dramatic crash. No crash means no desperate hunger an hour after your meal. No desperate hunger means you're not reaching for every piece of processed food in your kitchen at 9 p.m. This is exactly what Ozempic is mimicking. It's a synthetic version of this signal, a pharmaceutical copy of something your body was always designed to make on its own. So how do you make more of it? That's where these 5 triggers come in. The first trigger is specific dietary fiber, and not just any fiber. We're talking about 2 in particular: beta-glucans and resistant starch. Beta-glucans are found in oats and barley. When they reach your gut, they form a thick gel-like substance. That gel slows digestion, directly stimulates your L cells and triggers a meaningful release of GLP-1. Studies have shown that just 3 grams of beta-glucan daily can significantly improve satiety and post-meal blood sugar response. Now picture this. You eat a bowl of steel-cut oats in the morning. That beta-glucan gel is coating your intestinal lining, your L cells are getting stimulated, and your brain is receiving a satiety signal that lasts for hours. That's not magic. That's biology working exactly the way it was designed to. Resistant starch works differently but produces a similar result. It's a type of carbohydrate that your small intestine cannot digest. It passes through and becomes fuel for the bacteria in your colon, which then produce short chain fatty acids. Those short chain fatty acids are one of the most underrated GLP-1 triggers in existence. You find resistant starch in cooked and cooled rice, cooked and cooled potatoes, green bananas, and lentils. Yes, the cooling process actually changes the starch structure. Your leftovers are metabolically superior to the fresh version. That's not something most people know. The second trigger is protein, and this one is non negotiable. When protein hits your L cells, it is one of the most powerful GLP-1 stimulants in the entire food world. Specifically, certain amino acids, particularly leucine and glutamine, directly activate L cell receptors and drive a strong GLP-1 response. This is why high protein meals keep you full for hours. It's not just because protein is slow to digest. It's because it's actively triggering your satiety hormone at the gut level. The research here is consistent. Higher protein intake is associated with higher GLP-1 secretion. And here's the double benefit. Protein also protects your muscle mass. So unlike Ozempic, where you're losing muscle along with fat, a protein-forward approach is actually preserving and building the tissue that keeps your metabolism high long-term. Aim for at least 30 grams of protein at your first meal of the day. Eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, salmon, chicken. Get that protein in early and your GLP-1 levels respond accordingly throughout the morning. The third trigger is going to surprise you. Bitter compounds. Your gut has taste receptors. Specifically, it has bitter taste receptors called T2R receptors scattered throughout your intestinal lining. When bitter compounds activate these receptors, they signal L cells to release GLP-1. This is an ancient biological mechanism. Bitterness in nature often signals the presence of plant compounds that have medicinal and metabolic benefits. This is where berberine becomes extremely relevant. Berberine is a bitter compound found in plants like barberry and golden seal. Multiple studies have shown that berberine activates intestinal bitter receptors, stimulates GLP-1 release, and improves insulin sensitivity. It's been compared to metformin in terms of its blood sugar effects. And it works, at least in part, through this GLP-1 pathway. But you don't have to take a supplement. Bitter polyphenols found in dark leafy greens, dark chocolate above 85% cacao, coffee, green tea, and apple cider vinegar activate similar pathways. A tablespoon of apple cider vinegar before a meal is not just an old wives' tale. It's bitter compound activation of your gut's GLP-1 machinery. The fourth trigger is cold exposure. And this is where things get genuinely fascinating. Your body contains two types of fat: white fat, which is the storage fat most people are trying to lose, and brown fat, which is a metabolically active tissue that actually burns energy to generate heat. Cold exposure activates brown fat. And here's the connection most people miss completely. Activated brown fat releases signaling molecules that communicate with your gut and your brain, and emerging research is showing a clear link between brown adipose tissue activation and improved GLP-1 sensitivity. Beyond that, cold exposure increases norepinephrine, reduces systemic inflammation, and improves insulin receptor sensitivity, all of which create a better hormonal environment for GLP-1 to do its job. You don't need a cryo chamber. 2 to 3 minutes of cold water at the end of your shower, 4 to 5 days a week, is enough to begin activating this pathway. Cold plunges are more effective, but the shower protocol is something anyone can do starting tonight. The fifth trigger is the most underrated one, and it lives inside you right now, your gut microbiome, specifically a bacteria called Akkermansia muciniphila. This is one of the most researched beneficial bacteria in metabolic science right now. Studies have shown that people with higher levels of Akkermansia in their gut have better insulin sensitivity, lower levels of chronic inflammation, and significantly higher GLP-1 production. And people who are obese or metabolically unwell tend to have dramatically lower levels of this bacteria. How do you feed and grow Akkermansia? Polyphenol-rich foods. Pomegranate, cranberries, green tea, and red wine in moderate amounts are some of the best substrates for Akkermansia growth. Beyond that, fermented foods like kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut, and yogurt with live cultures help maintain the overall microbial diversity that allows Akkermansia to thrive. Think of your gut as a garden. What you feed it determines what grows, and what grows determines how much GLP-1 your body produces. Now let's put this all together into a daily protocol you can actually follow. You wake up in the morning, and before you do anything else, you end your shower with 2 to 3 minutes of cold water. That cold exposure activates your brown fat, spikes your norepinephrine, and sets up your metabolic hormonal environment for the day. Then you have your first meal. Steel cut oats made with water or milk, topped with a small amount of dark chocolate shavings or cacao nibs for the bitter polyphenol hit. On the side, 2 to 3 eggs or a serving of Greek yogurt to hit that 30-gram protein target. Before or during this meal, 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in a glass of water. Bitter receptor activation, GLP-1 triggered. Mid-morning, if you have coffee or green tea, you're adding another bitter polyphenol hit. No sugar. The bitter compounds only work if they stay bitter. Lunch centers around protein and resistant starch. Think grilled chicken or salmon with a side of lentils or cooled roasted potatoes. Add a large portion of dark leafy greens, the more bitter the better, arugula, radicchio, or kale. These are your natural bitter triggers hitting that gut lining again. If you use berberine as a supplement, 500 milligrams taken 20 to 30 minutes before lunch or dinner is the typical research protocol. Always discuss this with your doctor, especially if you are on any medications. Dinner is where you lean into fermented foods, a side of kimchi or sauerkraut with your protein and vegetables. This is your daily Akkermansia feeding. You are literally cultivating the bacteria that will produce GLP-1 while you sleep. Before bed, if you're hungry, a small bowl of cooked and cooled oats or a green banana gives you another resistant starch hit that your colonic bacteria will ferment overnight, producing those short-chain fatty acids that further drive GLP-1 production by morning. But here's the warning that could make or break this entire protocol. Low-fat diets are actively destroying your GLP-1 production. And this needs to be said clearly because decades of low-fat dietary advice have done enormous metabolic damage. Dietary fat, specifically long-chain fatty acids, is one of the most powerful direct stimulants of L-cell GLP-1 secretion. When fat enters the small intestine, it hits those L cells and drives a significant GLP-1 response. Remove the fat, and you remove one of your primary satiety triggers. This is why people on low-fat diets are perpetually hungry. It's not a willpower problem. It's a hormonal problem. They've cut out one of the primary foods that tells their brain they're full. Olive oil, avocado, fatty fish, eggs with the yolk, and full fat dairy are not your enemies. They are GLP-1 triggers. Treat them accordingly. Here's the summary of everything. Your body has a built-in Ozempic system. It's called GLP-1. It's produced in your gut. It signals your brain, it slows digestion, and it keeps you full. And it responds directly to what you eat, how you live, and what's living in your microbiome. 5 triggers: specific fibers like beta-glucans and resistant starch, high protein meals that hit your L cells directly, bitter compounds from real food and targeted supplements, cold exposure that activates your brown fat and improves GLP-1 sensitivity, and fermented foods that grow the Akkermansia bacteria your gut was always supposed to have. Stack these triggers daily. Be consistent. Give your body 6 to 8 weeks, and understand that this is not a shortcut. This is biology working the way it was always designed to work. If this video gave you something valuable, share it with one person who's been thinking about Ozempic, not to judge them, but because they deserve to know this option exists. Subscribe if you want more content like this, and drop a comment below telling me which of these 5 triggers you're going to start with tomorrow. I read every single one.